Hi, I'm William Keck, the author of When You Step Upon a Star, and you're listening to the All Over the Place podcast where the fun sanity never ends.
All right. Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place, the official podcast of Media Pub Live. It's a Threefer today, folks. And I once again want to thank our guest from last week, William Keck, coming on. Had a great time with him. We're looking forward to more great guests coming up as season 3, year 3 on All Over the Place continues. But always with us as well, Jim Culver. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm still dealing with humidity here in Ohio. This is going to be the last recorded show from Ohio, hence the little backdrop there before I get back to my Arizona office confines. But I'm just plugging away with that humidity that we mentioned on the summertime Threefer. But, I can make it 2 more weeks. I will survive, as the song once said.
But it's a dry hell. I mean, heat, right?
So the backdrops, folks, my hands are just, I can't be as jazz handsy, which is probably a good thing. So, hey, but the 3 for this week, we are going with movie cameos, as you might be able to tell from the backdrop going on there. And cameos, everyone has different ways of defining it. And this being all over the place, Jim and I didn't discuss any preset rules on it. And the reason I decided to put Stan Lee, Marvel legend, Stan Lee, rest in peace, as the backdrop, because for me, a cameo, he's the king of cameos. Just that quick in, quick out. You're not lingering too long. A cameo is just like, gets the viewer just thinking, yeah, that's cool. And then, you move on to the next scene. And Stan, obviously, whenever he popped up in a Marvel movie, it was always something special.
Man who made an art form out of cameos, really.
And then it's hard for me to pick my favorite one. That one in the upper left of the screen when he was kind of, doing his best, Hugh Hefner, I thought was awesome. But just his when he was being one of the Watchers. I can't remember which one of the Marvel movies that was. That one of the Avengers movies when he was up with all the Watchers.
No, but I don't want to give too much away because that's might be mentioned by me later.
Okay, never mind then.
But going back to the Hugh Hefner, he was actually quoted as saying that was his favorite cameo he ever did, is he had so much fun with it. I can't imagine why.
He had fun in every one of his scenes, so I'm glad that they're able to work him into that. And then the first of the MCU universe without him was sad. But again, rest in peace, Stan Lee. You are my king of the cameos. But Jim, we're going to kick it over to you for your first of your top 3.
All right, so I'm going to go with my number 3. I'm going to pick Matt Damon in Euro Trip. One of the funniest cameos ever. A fun movie, but I don't know how they came up with this scene. But if you haven't seen the movie, basically it's a man finds out his girlfriend's cheating on him by listening to a punk rocker sing about the affair that he's having with his girlfriend. And Matt Damon shows up, shaved head, facial rings, everything, and just kills it with this song. And the lyrics are hysterical. Everybody's seen the movie knows. Scotty doesn't know, but it's and just completely out of the blue. But yeah, hilarious cameo, hilarious movie. And the last thing you expect to see from Matt Damon when he was at the height of his Oscar powers. But yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, as much as the jabs that the Team America guys took at him with a Damon, it was nice that he could have fun and just lose himself in a role and just have a good time. And I think that, are you mentioning him again in your list?
I'm not.
Okay, well then I will say as an honorable mention when he in Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok, playing Loki, like being like the theater troupe player, just being Loki, and I love that. You can just tell the fun he has. He's in, he's out. He knows how to do a cameo, and maybe Matt Damon, but still fun to have it as your cameo guy, no doubt.
Yeah, and it took me forever to figure out why they picked him to do the cameo in that, and then I remembered he was Loki in the onstage Loki in Thor 2, or Thor 3, and then in Dogma he played an
Dogma, yep.
angel named Loki, and for some reason it took me forever to make that connection. I was like, just random Matt Damon, okay, whatever, and then I finally got it. So anyway,
Well, it took me the longest time. I was like, is that Matt Damon? Oh, that is Matt Damon. And Dogma was one of my favorite movies, so I immediately made that connection. I'm like, yep, well played, Marvel, well played. Like that one.
Yep.
But that didn't make my list. Didn't even make an honorable mention. But I will start, and I mentioned, at the top of the show, just how in defining cameos. Mm-hmm. And for me, I love the Muppet movie, and I love the movie The Player. It's a mad world. Mm-hmm. Those are movies I think designed for cameos. And
yes.
Whether it was Telly Savalas or Steve Martin or Orson Welles or just the veritable plethora in the Muppet movie, or even John Cleese, hilarious in his quick scene in The Great Muppet Caper. Those are movies designed for. So I kind of kept those out. So I know they're honorable mentions.
Yeah, it leads to a bigger question. Like if a movie is just cameo after cameo, then are they even cameos at that point, or is it just like an ensemble comedy with a whole bunch of tiny roles in it?
Right.
I don't know. I it's hard to say, but it's like I think cameo is supposed to kind of come out of the blue, and it's supposed to be kind of set apart from the rest of the movie, in my opinion. So
right. It's
hard to see like the Muppet movie as like cameos. It's more like just a whole bunch of celebrities just jumping on board and waving at the camera.
Yeah, the breaking down the fourth wall on multiple occasions. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
And but I will say in The Player, I did not see it. And another thing for me is, and when I get to my top three, I'm getting there soon, folks, I swear. But with a cameo for me, it's just got to be like, oh, and just I did not see that coming in the least.
Right.
And but in The Player, which again, just a movie, so many cameos, whether they're playing themselves or playing characters like themselves. Just seeing Bruce Willis at the end of that one.
Yep.
Didn't see that coming, and it was a great little wink and a nod to his characters and that he loved playing. So yeah, it's another honorable mention. But like you said, a movie, when it's a movie designed for cameos, are they really cameos? But enough of parameters. I'm going to get to my number three, and my number three is shared by two gentlemen, Ralph Bellamy and Don Amici, in Coming to America.
I didn't even think of that one, but that's perfect. Yes.
A throwback to their characters in Trading Places. Absolute genius. Love that. And the line they throw at each other, we're back.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy literally undoing the damage he did to them in the previous movie. Like different versions of Eddie Murphy undoing their own work. It's kind of funny. The Eddie Murphy multiverse, which is a movie I would absolutely pay to see.
Oh, good Lord. That's as I'm patiently waiting to get back to Arizona so I can watch the Axel F. Beverly Hills Cop.
Very good movie. I watched it the other day, and it's really good.
Nice. Well, Christine and I will be sitting down to watch that one soon. So, yeah, looking forward to that. But that is my number one, Don Amici and Ralph Bellamy. So, Jim, over to you for your second pick.
All right. Yeah, my number two, it's actually on the background, but so there's obviously a lot of Stan Lee cameos you can pick from in the MCU. And in fact, Stan Lee's cameos go way back. He really was a forward-thinking guy. He moved to Hollywood back in, I think, the 70s or the 80s and really started to get Marvel movies made. He really knew that was going to be the future. And it took him a couple of decades to really get going. But so it was pretty amazing that he got the MCU going and basically redefined cinema in the 21st century and got to be around to see that. But so he has cameos going back at least to the early 90s, maybe the 80s. I can't remember, but they go pretty far back. But anyway, my pick is from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, when he's basically revealed to be a cosmic entity talking to the Watchers and describing all the other cameos and all the other Marvel movies, and basically just casually laying down the fact that all the Marvel movies have been a multiverse, and he's been a godlike being traveling to each one just to kind of observe. And such a fun cameo. And then the after credits part is what really got me. So that was one of the last cameos we saw on screen before he passed away. Mm-hmm. And I think his last line after the credits is, "I have so many more stories to tell." and it's obviously meant in a humorous context, but seeing it now really gets a lump in your throat because that really defined him, as he had so many stories to tell, and that's what he was all about. So that is my number 2.
I like it. I love it. And again, that's why I made Stan Lee as the king of cameos. And I couldn't pick one. And I love that. So another thing for me with cameos is staying around too long when you become a character within it. But so honorable mentions. I want to give one to Bill Murray, obviously in Zombieland. And when it says, you kind of look like Eddie Van Halen. Oh, yeah, I just saw him the other day. It was, but absolutely perfect. And another one, and it's like I saw the shadow, and I knew immediately who it was. But then just stick around. In Wedding Crashers, Will Ferrell as Chaz, the all-knowing. The king of wedding crashing, the man laid down
scumbag extraordinaire.
Yes, just seeing him, the whole place just lost it in the theater when I was revealing him to be Ma Meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
It's just awesome. But again, a little bit too much screen time for me to count it as a cameo. But again, an honorable mention. But going to my number 2, though, I want to go with this guy had 3 lines. And it came out of nowhere, and just if it wasn't for my number 1, this could easily be like I did on a recent Threefer, a 1A and 1B. But I'm not going to do that. This is my number 2, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in X-Men First Class, and just they go to recruit him, and the go after yourself.
That is also one of my honorable mentions, and how to steal an entire movie in 3 words. Like nobody even remembers what happened after that because that was such a great cameo.
What was there a movie? No, you're right. Was there a movie? There didn't need to be a movie after that. I'm glad there was, but but Hugh Jackman, my number 2, no doubt.
Absolutely.
So Jim, over to you for your number 1.
All right, my
honorable mentions.
Yes, I'm going to start with honorable mentions. Keeping the Marvel theme going, I'm going to mention Garrett Morris in Ant-Man, and I didn't get this cameo at the time. And I think a lot of people didn't because it's a little more obscure. But yeah, Garrett Morris, the comedian, had a cameo in Ant-Man as a guy whose car gets crushed by Ant-Man. And he was actually the very first on-screen Ant-Man in a Saturday Night Live sketch going way back to the 70s.
Oh, the superhero party?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was the first on-screen Ant-Man, technically speaking. So that's why they gave him a cameo in the Ant-Man movie like 30 years later. So, I love that bit of trivia. So he's definitely an honorable mention for me. I'm going to mention Adam Sandler movies are kind of a cameo fest. And I have a bit of a system where I feel like the more cameos are in it, the harder they're trying too hard to be funny in his movies. Like if you just have Rob Schneider doing his thing, it's fine. But if you have a celebrity show up every 5 minutes and mug for the camera, it's kind of like they're kind of running out of inspiration on this one. But anyway, so this is a movie that was kind of a cameo fest, and that's Little Nicky. But there's actually a cameo at the end by Ozzy Osbourne that the theater I was in absolutely lost it at how funny it was. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but it's Ozzy Osbourne poking fun at himself in the best possible way, and in a way that actually fits with the plot of a satanic movie, which is kind of hilarious. But hilarious cameo. I loved it. And of course, Hugh Jackman, as we already mentioned. And I'm also going to mention Tim Robbins in Anchorman, playing the most badass public news reporter of all time. He introduces himself with the line, "No commercials, no mercy," and then he shows up at the end of the movie to throw a woman into a bear pit so he can get a better camera shot of something. I'm like, holy crap! So yeah, that's kind of a textbook example of how to make the most out of a cameo. He was great in that, and only a few years removed from the Shawshank Redemption and all these Oscar bait projects, for him to come out and play this goofy, ridiculous reporter was kind of hilarious. So anyway, so my number 1 is I think the first cameo I ever really noticed in a movie as a kid, and really loved it for that reason. And it was because it really came out of the blue for me. My pick is Gene Hackman in Young Frankenstein as the blind guy. And he's so funny in that. He's almost unrecognizable. The only way you can really tell it's him is that distinctive voice. But I mean, at the time, as a kid, I just knew him as, Lex Luthor and all these, these tough guys. And so to have him like have this beard and have this hilarious cameo as this blind guy that ruins the Frankenstein monster's dinner, and then then chases him out and says, "Wait, I was going to make espresso." Like, so funny. And I guess from what I've read, Gene Hackman just wanted to try comedy because he'd never really done it too much, and so he just asked Mel Brooks for a cameo in his next movie, and he gave it to him, and he was great in that. So that's and to me that's one of the funniest scenes of all time, and he absolutely killed that. So that's my pick.
I like number one. Well, before I get to my number one, I just got real quickly through some more honorable mentions, and these are true honorable mentions. These are cameos. Martin Sheen in Hot Shots Part 2, and there was a meta level thing going on. They're passing each other on the Southeast Asia pontoon boats, and I loved you in Wall Street, staring at each other. Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen, loved it. Also, John Hurt in Spaceballs.
Yes.
Spoofing himself in the movie Alien, and there we go back with Mel Brooks in just a very hilarious manner. And one of the first one, first one to me is like, yeah, cool. As a teenager, for me, it was Huey Lewis in Back to the Future.
Yep.
And just when the immortal line, "Sorry, you're just too loud."
Yeah. Bitching about his own music, no less. That's a pretty good cameo. And the John Hurt one, I love that one too. It's like, how many actors can say they played one of the most horrifying horror scenes of all time, and then got to make fun of it in a Mel Brooks movie 10 years later?
Awesome.
Yeah, that's some range right there.
That's how you do a cameo, folks. But
it's
still just an honorable mention for me. And my number one, and this is why I have the backdrop here, folks, of a basketball locker room. And I'm not interviewing him, but I'm going to go with Xavier McDaniel in Singles. And Jim, I know you're a Seattle guy up there. I know you like the movie Singles, and just it works on a couple of different levels so well. And because Kira Sedgwick is, her character's making fun of the X-Man,
right?
And then Steve Campbell Scott's character is like, "Oh, how dare you mock the X-Man?" And it's then they cut just out of nowhere. They cut to an interview, a reporter interviewing the X-Man, just talking about the thing of the thug ball that she was making fun of, and then just breaking that fourth wall. And Steve,
yep, we know
the
the rest of it. Yeah.
So, and I was losing it. That was just too good. It took me out of the movie too. Like all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, they're having this intimate. Yeah, love it.
Peek inside the mind of a man, right there.
I will not dare to mock the X-Man. Love Xavier McDaniel in that one. That was just, and that's my number one cameo in a movie.
Yeah, that was pretty great. I agree.
But now, folks, for our plus one, we're going to flip it a little bit. We're keeping cameo, but it's a cameo that didn't work for us. Took us out of the movie in a bad way or a bad performance, whatever it may be. Jim, go to you and let you take it from there.
Okay, I'm going to start with an honorable mention. This is a collective group of cameos, and it's the original cast cameos in Ghostbusters 2016. And I'm not gonna say a whole lot about Ghostbusters 2016 that hasn't already been said. Yeah. So I won't pile on to that, but I will say I don't think I've ever seen such a group of cameos that didn't want to be there. Like they were just so bored. They're not funny. Yeah, phoned in. It's just so obvious that the studio told them they had to do this. to give their blessing to this remake, and they just, none of them want to be there. And I mean, I'm sure Bill Murray just told everyone to just kill him off in that cameo, which it was actually kind of funny because you mentioned his cameo in Zombieland. That's 2 cameos he did where he gets killed off. Go figure that. But anyway, because he just doesn't give an F anymore. But
he's Bill Murray, and you're not. Take that, exactly. Chevy Chase.
That's right. But yeah, just none of them want to be there. None of them care about this project, and they're just, you can tell they're just being forced to do this, which kind of fits with the vibe of the whole movie. But anyway, so that's my honorable mention. My number 1, I'm going to go back a little further to a classic movie, The Greatest Story Ever Told by the great George Stevens. Really, really, really good, well done biblical epic. But it has a cameo right at the end that I consider to be maybe the worst cameo of all time, just because of the way it takes you out of the movie. And there's kind of an all-star cast in that movie. Max von Sydow is a great Jesus in that. I mean, how many actors can play Jesus and Satan in the same career? But he definitely pulled it off. There's a cameo right at the end during the crucifixion where John Wayne, of all people, plays a Roman centurion. And he only has one line, but it just cuts to him, and in that standing there in that Texas drawl, and he said, "Surely this man was the Son of God." And I know I'm terrible at impressions, but that Texas drawl, and he just Dan McClinton is going to be all over you for that Texas imitation. I know. I'm no good. I'm no good at impressions, but you can picture it in your mind or look it up on YouTube if you want. But it's
like
just
Edward G. Robinson in the 10 Commandments. Where's your Messiah now? See?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you think he obviously meant well. He wanted to be part of this project. He wanted to kind of bless it with his presence and just show his support and all that. And I appreciate that. But it just completely takes you out of the movie right at this dramatic moment that's supposed to be like the crux of the story. And it just cuts to this Texan in a Roman costume, and just like not even trying to sound like he belongs there. And it's rough. It's really a really rough cameo. So
at least it was just a cameo, and it wasn't having to listen to Harvey Keitel and then New York talk going all throughout The Last Temptation of Christ.
Oh my gosh, don't get me started.
Which was a great performance, but it's that accent just it's the only thing that doesn't get me completely engrossed in that film.
Yeah, no, completely. I couldn't agree more on that one. But and I love Harvey Keitel, but
sure, I mean,
come on,
Keitel and Scorsese, please, yeah.
He doesn't exactly scream biblical Jew to me. I'm sorry, he doesn't. But
Jesus.
Yeah, pretty bad, pretty rough. But anyway, so yeah, that's my pick for the worst.
For worst, well, very quickly before I get into my worst, I got to go back and just again another of the kings of the cameo, Alfred Hitchcock in his movies. Just quick, he's in, he's out. It was his trademark. It was the director appearing in there. Love it. And any director. Well, if it was done beforehand, I don't know, because Hitchcock did it best. And any director who does it after that, whether it's Tarantino or Scorsese popping up in Taxi Driver, they all owe something to Hitchcock in more ways than one, but definitely in the cameo as well. But that's an honorable mention to the king there, of king of directors in cameos. But for my worst ones, and we're going to get back to the Sandler universe quickly with Kevin Nealon in Happy Gilmore.
Really?
And it's just that it's that Zen thing. And here's why it gets a little bit worse in the Sandler universe, in Grandma's Boy, where he was the boss. And it was that same character. And Kevin Nealon, I'm not sure how great his range is as an actor. I mean, on Weeds, I know he had played a good character on that on TV, but just the movie cameo, it just, for some, it wasn't working for me. Just took me out of it. And also David Spade, a little too over the top there in Grandma's Boy. But that's still just, those are two honorable mentions because I want to go with Jack Black and Anchorman you brought up before. And
yeah,
that's when, to me, I think I was at a little oversaturation of Jack Black. He was just trying too hard in that scene. Could have been a funny scene. Still, to a large degree, is a funny scene, but him just overplayed it, took me out, and it's like, all right, okay, Jack Black's being Jack Black and overdoing it, and next. So yeah, that's my number one cameo. That's just like, all right.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one. He doesn't know he would know how to tone it down if his life depended on it.
Which he's Jack Black. I mean, don't tone it down.
It's great in the right parts,
but yeah.
He's great in the right role, but yeah, just it's pretty clear he didn't have a lot to work with Anchorman. It was just go play a biker, go punt a dog over a bridge, and somehow make it funny. And so he just kind of just got all hyped up and screamed a lot, and it wasn't much to it.
Yeah. Well, that's it, folks. We are all cameoed out here. Whether our three good and then some, and the plus one. But as always, everyone, thank you for checking us out, listening, subscribing, sharing. We are continuing to grow. More great guests are coming in year 3, and just keep checking us out, sharing us with your friends over whether it's YouTube or Spotify, Amazon, any of the platforms. Jim, as always, awesome list. Trivia with Jim Culver. Never a dull moment here on All Over the Place when we're doing movies with Jim. So thanks again for listening, everybody, and we'll be back real soon here on All Over the Place. As always, thanks for listening or watching.
Thanks, everybody.